My sister stole my fiancé. Now my parents are begging me to come to their wedding. I don't even know how to put this into words. Even now, it feels like a nightmare I can't wake up from. I keep waiting for someone to tell me it was all some kind of sick joke. But it's real. Every second of it. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again, not after what they did to me. It started 6 months ago. At least, that's when I found out. But the betrayal, the lies, had been going on long before that. Right under my nose. My fiancé, Thomas, and I had been together for almost 5 years. We met at university, fell in love fast, and built a life together slowly. He proposed on my birthday. It wasn't extravagant or over the top, it was just us, at home, with wine and music and candles. I cried. I said yes. I thought it was the happiest moment of my life. I didn't know, of course, that my sister Leah had already started tearing it all apart. Leah is 2 years younger than me. She's always been the wild one. The center of attention. The one who never quite grew out of the need to be seen, to be adored, to win, even if it meant stepping on the people closest to her. But she was my sister. I loved her. I trusted her. I didn't see it. I didn't see them. The first crack came one afternoon when I came home early from work. Thomas wasn't supposed to be home. Neither was Leah. But when I unlocked the door, I heard voices, low, tense. I stepped into the living room and saw them sitting too close on the couch. Too close. They jumped when they saw me, like guilty children. "Hey," Thomas said quickly. "Your sister just stopped by." Leah smiled, that fake, sugary smile I'd seen 100 times. I was just borrowing a book. Something felt off. My stomach twisted, but I brushed it off. I didn't want to be that person, paranoid, controlling, insecure. But after that, I started noticing things. The way Thomas's phone was suddenly always face down. The way Leah would find excuses to stop by when she knew I wasn't home. The way they barely looked at each other when we were all in the same room, like they were afraid to let something slip. I told myself I was imagining it. I told myself it was stress from wedding planning, from work, from life. I was wrong. The truth came crashing down one rainy Thursday afternoon. Leah's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. She was in the shower. I didn't mean to look. I swear to God I didn't mean to. But when the screen lit up, I saw his name. Thomas. "I miss you. Can't wait to hold you again." I felt the blood drain from my face. My heart actually stopped for a second. I picked up the phone, hands shaking, and scrolled. What I found destroyed me. Messages. Photos. Voice notes. Weeks, months, of lies. Of secret meetings. Of stolen moments behind my back. I dropped the phone. I remember my knees buckling. I remember not being able to breathe. My own sister, the man I was supposed to marry. I left the house without a word. I couldn't face her. I couldn't even think straight. Thomas tried to call me that night. Over and over. Leah too. I ignored every call. Every message. I stayed at Emma's for 3 days, barely eating, barely speaking. Just numb. Hollowed out. When I finally answered Thomas's call, his voice was shaking. It was a mistake, he kept saying. It didn't mean anything. It just happened. And then the worst part, he actually said it, "I still want to marry you." I hung up. I couldn't even scream. The betrayal was so deep it went beyond words, beyond anger. It was like something had died inside me. My parents, God, my parents, they didn't want to take sides. They begged me to talk it through, to forgive and move on, to keep the family together. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I called off the wedding. I cut them all out. But last week, I got an invitation in the mail. Leah and Thomas. They're getting married. And my parents? They're begging me to come. To show support. To be the bigger person. I don't even know who I am anymore. All I know is this: the people I loved the most were the ones who shattered me. I stared at the wedding invitation for what felt like hours. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit down. The envelope, the elegant calligraphy, the soft pastel colors, it was all so polished. So normal. Like they were just any other couple. Like they hadn't detonated a bomb in the middle of my life. The names, Leah and Thomas. The date. The venue. The soft line at the bottom: "We would love for you to join us on our special day." I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. A sharp, bitter, disbelieving sound that made my chest hurt. It wasn't just the fact that they were getting married, it was the fact that they thought I might come. That I might sit in some shiny chair, dressed in polite smiles, and applaud while my sister married the man I was supposed to marry. I threw the card across the room. It hit the wall and fluttered to the floor. And then I collapsed. Full body sobs. The kind that rip you apart from the inside. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't stop shaking. My whole world, everything I had built, everything I had trusted, was gone. Emma found me like that an hour later. I must have texted her without even realizing it, because suddenly she was there, wrapping her arms around me, holding me like she could somehow put me back together. I remember whispering the same thing over and over: I can't believe they're doing this to me. I can't believe my own family is doing this to me. Emma stayed the night. She didn't ask me to talk. She didn't push me to explain. She just stayed. And I think if she hadn't, I might have done something stupid. The next morning, the texts from my parents started. First my mom: "I know this is hard, darling, but Lee is very emotional. She feels awful. We don't want to lose you. Please come to the wedding, for the family." Then my dad: "I know you're hurt, but they're moving forward. We'd like you to be part of the celebration, even if it's difficult. We can't erase what happened, but we can heal from it." Heal? Heal? They acted like this was some minor drama. Like I was sulking over a broken toy instead of being betrayed in the most humiliating way possible by the two people who should have loved me most. I didn't reply. I couldn't. There were no words that could capture the depth of what I felt, and yet, some twisted part of me kept replaying it all. Over and over. Thomas's face when I first met him. The way he used to call me baby with that soft smile. The way Leah used to laugh and say how perfect we were together. All of it. Every memory now poisoned. I couldn't stop the question spinning in my head: when did it start? How long had they been lying to me? Did my parents know before I did? Did they suspect? Did they care? I barely ate for 3 days. Emma forced me to drink water, to sleep a few hours at a time. But inside, I was crumbling. And then the next twist came: a direct message. From Leah. Her words felt like acid as I read them: "I know you probably hate me, but I hope one day you'll understand that love isn't something you can control. It just happens. I never meant to hurt you. I wish you could come to the wedding, it would mean the world to me. You're my sister. Always." My stomach turned. I actually had to run to the bathroom to throw up. Love isn't something you can control. No apology. No shame. Just this cold, narcissistic fantasy where I was supposed to forgive her and somehow celebrate her stealing my life. I sat on the floor, shaking, for almost an hour after that. That's when it hit me: I wasn't just heartbroken. I was done. Done playing the good daughter. Done being the quiet sister. Done pretending that any of this was okay. And for the first time since everything fell apart, something sharp and cold settled inside me. If they wanted me to come to this wedding, they were going to regret it. I don't know what flipped inside me that night, but something broke, and something else took its place. It was like I finally stopped drowning. The grief, the heartbreak, the humiliation, it was still there, but underneath it, something sharper was growing. Something colder. I wasn't going to be the victim in their story. They wanted me to come to their wedding? Fine. I'd come. But not the way they expected. I started by reaching out to a few mutual friends. Quietly. Carefully. The thing about Thomas is that he was never as clean-cut as he pretended to be. He had secrets. I knew that because I had spent years looking the other way. Little red flags I had ignored because I was in love. Because I trusted him. Because I thought I was building a future. But now? Now I wanted the truth. I dug through old messages. Old emails. I pulled up every little thing that had once made me pause, every text that had felt slightly off. I called Sophie, another friend who'd always had doubts about Thomas. Together, we started putting the pieces together. And what we found? It made my skin crawl. It wasn't just Leah. Thomas had a pattern. There were other women. Flirty messages, late-night work events that didn't match the photos he'd posted. And worse, at least 2 women who admitted, privately, that they had hooked up with him while we were still together. Nothing serious, they said. Just mistakes. Drunken nights. It hit me like a freight train. Leah wasn't special. She was just the one who stuck. The rage that poured through me after that was volcanic. All this time, my parents had framed this like a tragic love story, like I was standing in the way of 2 soulmates. But the reality? My sister was just the latest casualty in a long line of Thomas's manipulations. And she was too blind, or too desperate, to see it. I printed everything. Every message. Every screenshot. Every date and detail. I organized it into a neat little folder and kept it hidden. I didn't know yet how I'd use it, but I knew I wasn't going to let them walk all over me without the truth on my side. Then came the next blow. My parents invited me to a family dinner to talk things through. I almost didn't go. Every part of me screamed not to. But something told me I needed to see them face to face, to know exactly where I stood. When I arrived, the atmosphere was suffocating. My mother hugged me like nothing had happened. My father poured wine like it was any other Sunday. And there, sitting at the table, hand in hand, were Leah and Thomas. I thought I might actually throw up. Leah smiled, soft, sheepish, her eyes glistening with fake emotion. Thomas barely met my gaze. "We're glad you came," my father started. "This has been hard on everyone, but we're family. We need to move forward." I said nothing. My mother jumped in. "Leah feels awful. She never meant for this to happen. Love is unpredictable. And we can't change the past. But we can heal." Leah sniffled. "I miss you," she whispered. "You're my sister." Something inside me snapped. I set down my glass calmly. I looked each of them in the eye. "You're right," I said softly. "We can't change the past." I pulled the folder from my bag and slid it across the table. Thomas's face went white. "What's this?" my mother asked, confused. I didn't blink. "Proof. Of who Thomas really is. Every woman. Every lie. Every night he told me he was working late." The room fell silent. My father's face tightened. Leah's hand trembled as she reached for the folder. Thomas tried to stop her, but it was too late. Page after page. Name after name. And then I stood. "I won't stop you from marrying him," I said quietly. "But I won't sit here and let you rewrite history and make me the villain. You're marrying a liar. A cheater. And I won't waste another breath pretending any of this is okay." I walked out before any of them could speak. The last thing I saw was Leah's face, ashen, shaking, her whole world cracking right in front of her. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. Not happiness. Not closure. But peace. I wasn't broken anymore. And I wasn't done yet. I didn't hear from any of them for 3 days. 3 days of total silence after I dropped that folder on the dinner table and walked out. 3 days where I kept waiting for my phone to light up, for someone, anyone, to call and apologize, to scream, to deny, to beg. Nothing. And somehow, that silence hurt worse than any insult they could have thrown at me. Emma kept checking on me, asking if I was okay, but I don't even think I knew the answer to that question anymore. I was functioning. Feeding myself. Taking showers. Sleeping in short, restless bursts. But emotionally? I was numb. Hollow. Like I'd burned through every last feeling and was now operating on pure fumes. On the 4th day, the first message came. It wasn't from Leah. It wasn't from Thomas. It was from my mother. We all make mistakes. I understand you're upset, but this is not the way to handle things. You've caused a lot of unnecessary hurt. Please, let's move forward as a family. I stared at the words in disbelief. Unnecessary hurt. As if I was the one who destroyed everything. As if my refusal to sit down and smile through my own humiliation made me the problem. I didn't reply. I couldn't. I just threw my phone across the bed and curled into myself until the tears came again, hot, silent, endless. And then, almost as if the universe wasn't finished gutting me, I got the second message. This time, from Leah. It was longer. Rambling. Full of half apologies and half accusations. I didn't plan for any of this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. Thomas and I, it just happened. We tried to fight it, but we couldn't. You were always so perfect. So, untouchable. I guess I just wanted to be seen too. I'm sorry. I hope one day you can forgive me. I'd love for you to come to the wedding. Mom and Dad are worried about you. I felt the blood drain from my face. She actually framed it like I was the privileged one. Like I was somehow responsible for her betrayal because I was untouchable. As if stealing my fiancé was some kind of twisted cry for attention. That's when it hit me, Leah wasn't sorry. Not really. She was sorry she got caught. Sorry I didn't just roll over and accept it. And the worst part? My parents were right there with her, rewriting the story to paint me as cold, dramatic, unforgiving. I think something broke for good in me that day. That evening, Emma poured me a glass of wine and said, "You know you don't have to go, right? You don't owe them anything." I nodded, but my mind was already elsewhere. Because deep down, I knew I would go. Not for them. Not for closure. But because I needed to see it with my own eyes, to stand there and face the wreckage they had created. To bury the last pieces of whatever family I thought I had. But if I was going on my terms. I spent the next week carefully planning every detail. The dress. The way I'd carry myself. The people I'd speak to. And more importantly, the truth I was willing to drop if any one of them tried to twist the knife deeper. Because if they wanted me to be the villain, I could be the villain. And this time I wouldn't be the one walking away in shame. I could already feel the storm building. And I wasn't going to let them walk away unscathed. The day of the wedding arrived faster than I expected. I barely slept the night before. My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I zipped up the dress I'd chosen, simple, elegant, black. Not the traditional morning black, no, this was deliberate. Clean. Sharp. A quiet message before I even opened my mouth. I wasn't there to celebrate. I was there to bury the last traces of my old life. Emma drove me. She offered to come inside, but I told her no. I needed to face this on my own. The venue was some ridiculous countryside estate, over the top, expensive, grotesquely perfect, the kind of place Thomas's family loved to show off. I stepped out of the car, heels clicking against the stones, head high, face like ice. Every step felt surreal, like I was watching myself from outside my own body. People stared the second I walked in. Some of them knew. Some had only heard whispers. Some just sensed the tension in the air like animals before a storm. The sideways glances, the forced smiles, I absorbed them all without flinching. And then I saw them. Thomas, standing at the far end of the garden, surrounded by his family. He looked pale. Thinner than before. Our eyes met for half a second. He looked away first. Leah. Leah stood near the floral archway in a dress that could have been mine. Her hair styled almost exactly like mine had been for my engagement shoot months earlier. The sight of her, so radiant, so carefully crafted, sent a cold wave through me. She smiled when she saw me. Soft. Almost shy. Like none of this was twisted. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears. My parents were waiting near the front row. My mother's eyes lit up in relief when she saw me. My father gave a tight nod. For them, my presence was a victory, a sign that the family was healing. I kept walking, every step heavy but steady, until I took my place, alone, at the back. The ceremony began. I barely heard the words. The vows, the readings, the soft laughter, all of it blurred into white noise. My eyes never left the two of them. The way Thomas looked at her, the way she beamed like this was the happiest day of her life. My stomach twisted into knots so tight I thought I might actually collapse. And then it happened. The officiant asked if anyone objected. The air went still. Silent. And I don't know what came over me, I truly don't, but I felt my hand rise. My voice cut through the silence like a blade, I do. Gasps. Faces turning. My mother's sharp intake of breath. Leah's eyes widening in pure horror. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I spoke calmly. Precisely. I object, I said softly. Because this man is a liar. A cheater. And because my sister deserves to know that she's not the first, or the second, person he's done this with. She's just the one who stayed. Dead silence. I pulled the folded sheets of paper from my clutch, the same ones I had dropped on the dinner table weeks earlier. Names. Dates. Messages. All of it, I said. I wasn't planning to say anything. But since you all asked me to be here, since you all wanted closure, here it is. Thomas's face drained of color. Leah's lips parted, her breath hitching audibly. My mother stood up, her voice sharp, enough. This is not the place. I cut her off without looking at her. No, Mum. You made this the place when you invited me here like nothing happened. I turned my eyes back to Leah. You can still marry him, I said quietly. That's your choice, but you're not going to do it without the truth. The officiant stood frozen. Guests whispered. Some openly stared, some looked away in shame. Leah looked between me and Thomas, her face crumbling. Tears filled her eyes. Her hands trembled. And then, without a word, she dropped her bouquet. The sound of it hitting the ground was deafening in the stillness. She turned. Walked. Fast. Disappeared behind the archway without looking back. Thomas called after her once, weakly, then buried his face in his hands. And just like that, it was over. I stood there for a moment longer. Breathing. Steady. Then I turned and walked away. Past the gasping guests. Past my stunned parents. Past the shattered wreckage of people who thought they could break me and walk away clean. I didn't stop until I reached the car. Emma was waiting. She looked at my face, her eyes wide. Did you do it? She asked softly. I smiled, small, tired, but real. Yeah, I whispered. I did. For the first time in months, I felt light. Not happy. Not whole. But free. And somehow, that was enough. The silence in the car on the way home felt heavier than the chaos I'd just left behind. Emma kept glancing at me like she was waiting for me to break down. I didn't. I stared out the window, my fingers numb, my breath shallow, but the tears wouldn't come. I think I was past that. Beyond it. Like I'd reached the other side of something dark and endless. I was empty, but in a way that felt strangely calm. By the time we got back to her place, my phone was already buzzing. First it was my mother. "How could you do this? This was supposed to be a new beginning for all of us." Then Thomas, "I hope you're happy. You've ruined everything. I never thought you'd sink this low." And finally, "Leah, I trusted you. I looked up to you. You're the cruelest person I've ever known." I let the messages pile up. I didn't answer. Not one of them deserved a response. Emma poured me a glass of wine, but I barely touched it. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Somewhere inside me, I knew the adrenaline would wear off soon, and when it did, the weight of what I'd done would hit me like a truck. But I didn't regret it. Not for a second. I thought they'd leave me alone after that. I thought the explosion I'd set off would be enough to make them finally let me go. I was wrong. The next morning, I woke up to an entirely different nightmare. One of my coworkers, someone I barely knew, sent me a screenshot. It was a post. Public. From Leah's account. A long, carefully written essay about toxic siblings, about jealousy, about narcissistic manipulation and family betrayal. She never mentioned me by name, but she didn't have to. The entire thing was a masterclass in passive-aggressive victimhood, painting herself as the wounded, heartbroken younger sister, the one who had simply fallen in love and been publicly humiliated by someone who couldn't handle being left behind. The likes, the comments, the sympathy, it was instant. I felt my knees go weak as I read it. I couldn't breathe. My hands went cold. Emma looked over my shoulder, her eyes narrowing. "She's turning it on you," she murmured. "She's making you the villain." I laughed. A dry, broken laugh. Of course she is. It wasn't just about Thomas anymore. It wasn't even about the wedding. It was about control, about the story she could sell to the world. And my parents? They were right there in the comments. Leaving little heart emojis. Comments about family healing. I couldn't believe it. I still couldn't believe it. I called my lawyer. We documented everything. Every post, every comment. Defamation. Harassment. Emotional distress. I wanted everything on record. I wasn't going to let them tear my name to shreds while I sat silently. And then, the final straw, a message from my father. "We raised you better than this. Family means forgiveness. If you don't apologize, you'll lose more than just your sister. You'll lose us too." I felt something inside me go ice cold. That was it. The last thread snapped. I sat down, hands steady now, and I wrote a reply that I never thought I'd write. "Then I guess I've lost you already." I hit send. Blocked the number. Blocked them all. It was over. And yet, as I sat there staring at the quiet screen, I felt something rise inside me. Not grief. Not regret. But freedom. Sharp. Cold. Clean. I didn't belong to them anymore. And for the first time in my life, I finally knew who I was without them. The days that followed were like living in the aftermath of an explosion, everything scorched, everything broken, and me standing alone in the wreckage. I blocked every number. Every account. Every message. My parents, Leah, Thomas, the entire rotten web of them. I cut it all off without looking back. But the damage they'd done. That clung to me like ash on my skin. The people who used to be my family were gone. Or maybe they had never really been mine in the first place. And yet, despite the heartbreak, despite the betrayal, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: control. It was quiet, fragile, but real. For the first time, I wasn't reacting to them, I was choosing for me. Emma never left my side. She forced me to eat, to get out of the house. We went for long walks. We drank wine on her tiny balcony and made dark jokes about weddings and family loyalty. I could tell she was worried about me. I was worried too, if I'm honest. I was functioning, but barely. It was like part of me had been amputated without anesthesia. And then came the email. Not from Leah. Not from Thomas. From my mother. The subject line, family meeting, let's fix this. I stared at it for minutes before I opened it. I don't know why I did. Maybe some pathetic thread of me still wanted to believe they could change. The email was worse than I imagined. Polite. Cold. She wrote about how everyone makes mistakes and how time heals all wounds. She wrote about how I had overreacted publicly and caused deep humiliation for both families. She suggested a sit down at their house to clear the air and discuss how we can move forward. The kicker? She ended the email with, "It would mean so much to Leah to have her sister's support as she moves into this next chapter of her life. Family comes first. Always." I wanted to vomit. Family comes first. The same family that watched me shatter. The same family that stood by while my sister stole my fiancé and then tried to rewrite the story to make me the villain. Emma found me sitting in the hallway with the email still open on my phone, my whole body shaking, not from sadness this time, but from pure, boiling fury. "I'm going," I whispered. She blinked. "What?" I looked up at her, my voice dead calm. "I'm going to that meeting. And when I walk out, they'll never forget it." Emma frowned. "You don't have to prove anything." "I'm not going for them," I cut her off softly. "I'm going for me. To end it. Properly. On my terms." The decision was made. I didn't want revenge. Not really. What I wanted, what I needed, was to look them all in the eye one last time and take back every piece of myself they had tried to erase. I spent the next 2 days preparing, not just emotionally, but strategically. I gathered everything, the screenshots, the messages, the photos. I printed the fake supportive posts they had shared online. I even had copies of the legal documents my lawyer had started drafting in case things escalated further. I was ready. The day of the meeting arrived. I dressed with surgical precision, black again, clean lines, no jewelry except for the silver bracelet my grandmother had given me before she passed. The only family member who ever truly loved me without conditions. I stepped into my parents' house like a soldier going to war. They were all there, my mother, stiff and polite. My father, tense and visibly uncomfortable. Leah, eyes red-rimmed, makeup flawless but barely holding it together. Thomas, though he barely looked up when I entered. For a brief second, I felt that old grief stir. The weight of history. Of childhood memories. But I pushed it down. I couldn't afford to carry it anymore. My mother started first. "Always the same, we just want to talk, we just want to heal." I let her finish. And then I calmly, methodically, laid out every single truth I had gathered. The cheating. The lies. The manipulation. The performative victimhood they had weaponized against me. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I simply told the truth. Quietly. Bluntly. And when I was done, I stood. "I'm not here to forgive," I said softly. "I'm here to tell you that you don't get to rewrite what happened. I'm not the villain. I'm not the liar. And from this day forward, I'm not your daughter." My mother gasped. My father's face went pale. Leah whispered my name, her voice cracking. But I didn't stop. "From this day on, you're strangers to me," I finished. "You burned this bridge. I'm just the one finally walking away." And then I left. I didn't look back. Not this time. Not ever again. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly free. I don't remember much of the drive home. I know Emma hugged me the second I walked through the door. I know she made tea. I know she asked me if I was okay, more than once, but the truth is, I don't think I even heard her properly. My mind felt quiet. Like the eye of a storm after months of chaos. I'd done it. I'd faced them. And I'd walked away. For days after that, I stayed in this strange in-between place. Not sad. Not angry. Just empty. Like my body was still catching up to the fact that it was over, that the people I'd built my life around, trusted, loved, forgiven over and over, were gone. Not physically, but emotionally. Spiritually. Gone. The texts didn't stop right away, of course. My mother sent another long message begging me to reconsider before I made a permanent mistake. My father sent a single line, "Family is forever." Think about it. Leah never reached out again. Neither did Thomas. I blocked the last of them the following week. And then, one morning, I woke up and realized something I hadn't felt in months. I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't waiting for another blow. Another betrayal. Another knife in the back. I was free. Emma convinced me to take a short trip, a few days by the sea, just to breathe. Just to exist somewhere untouched by everything that had happened. I agreed, almost reluctantly, but I'm glad I did. I spent hours walking along the beach with no destination, no deadline, no one watching or judging or taking pieces of me. And slowly, so slowly, I started to feel like myself again. Not the version of me that Thomas loved. Not the sister I was expected to be. Not the daughter who was supposed to forgive and smile and move on for the sake of appearances. Just me. I realized something else on that beach too. Some people aren't meant to be family. Some people don't deserve your loyalty, your kindness, your heart. And when someone shows you, truly shows you, who they are, you have two choices: you keep bleeding for them, or you finally put the knife down. I chose me. I chose peace. And even though the scars are still there, sharp and ugly and permanent, I know now that I survived something most people never even see coming. I survived the people who were supposed to love me. And I'm still standing. I don't know what the future looks like yet, but for the first time in my life, it's mine. And I won't let anyone take it from me again.
Follow me for more stories.